And finally, we have some tips for safe drinking during the holiday season.
Hi there, it's Keith Reid here again, Public Health Physician with Southern District Health Board. I wanted to talk to you today about how to moderate your alcohol consumption so you can enjoy the summer weather and the party season, but still drink safely. The safe drinking limits in New Zealand are set at 4 standard drinks a day for women and 6 standard drinks a day for men. And now each standard drink is about 10 grams of alcohol. So what does that mean? Well, on all alcohol retailed in New Zealand, there'll be a label on the back which will give you information on the number of standard drinks contained within that container. For a typical can of beer, that'll be about 1.3 to 1.5 standard drinks for a 330ml can of beer. For a bottle of wine, usually around 8 standard drinks. And nowadays, with the strength of white, there's not much difference between white wine and red wine, both around 8 standard drinks. So that means for your typical glass of wine, which is about 175 mils, quarter of a bottle, you've got 2 standard drinks. One of the problems of drinking at home is that glasses come in different shapes and sizes, and also you don't have a line on them showing you where to pour. So what I've done here is I've taken a variety of wine glasses of different shapes and sizes, and I've put a 175 ml measure in each of them. And as you can see, it looks slightly different in each glass depending on the shape and the size of the glass. But each of these glasses of wine has 2 standard drinks in them. So for women, 2 of those glasses and you've reached the daily recommended maximum intake. For a man, you can have another one on top. Why is that important? Well, it's important at home because if you are going to drink safely, it's important you don't drink too much, and it's important that you know how much you're pouring into each glass. The tendency with alcohol is it does tend to cloud your judgment a little bit, so after you've had one you think, oh, that was really nice, I'll just have another. And then the third one comes around, the bottle comes around, you've got a congenial host, and before you know it, you're well above what we recommend as the safe drinking limits. So be aware of how much is in your glass, and if someone does come around with a bottle, you don't have to have it topped up each time they come round. The other thing I would say is that make sure that you do have drinks of water or soft drinks in between alcoholic drinks. By alternating in that way, not only do you feel better at the end of the evening, but it certainly reduces the amount of alcohol and therefore calories that you take in, and that can be quite important for some people. Food is another important thing to take. You know, around a barbecue, maybe that's not so much of an issue because food is a big part of the evening and weekend barbecue scene, and rightly so. Nothing nicer than a nice juicy barbecue. So make sure you do eat plenty, and that helps to slow down the rate of absorption of alcohol, make you feel better. But if you're on an evening do or at a formal meal, do make sure that you do eat sufficient, and don't feel that having something to eat is an excuse to drink more. It's not. It simply slows down the rate of absorption of alcohol into your bloodstream. Some of you will be drinking spirits this summer. A gin and tonic or a Pimm's on a nice summer evening can be very pleasant. What I'd recommend to you is you get hold of a bar measure and you use that to measure out your spirits. If you're pouring into a glass with ice or a large glass, it's very difficult to keep track of how much spirit you're pouring in. Using a measure means you know exactly how much you're pouring in. It means you're not going to overdo it. Also means that the spirits last longer. 30 mils of spirit at 40%, which is the standard strength of spirit in New Zealand, is 1 standard drink. So a double is 2 standard drinks, which contains the same alcohol as this glass of wine here. The other thing to remember is if you're drinking from shot glasses, if you must, and some people do enjoy it, this shot glass here contains 2 standard drinks, so 2 of those for women and you've reached your recommended daily limit. 3 of those for a man, you've reached your recommended daily limits. So there's more alcohol in this shot glass than you might think to start with. There are 2 groups who we think shouldn't be drinking at all or should think very seriously about drinking. The first is if there are children around, you need to be very careful how much you drink for 2 reasons. One is, if anything happens to the children, are you going to be in a position where you can exercise responsible judgment? The second thing is, you've got to think about the example that you're giving to your children about drinking. There are a lot of people who think, oh well, if I drink responsibly and show them that alcohol is associated with having a good time, that actually will lead to them being less likely to having problems with alcohol when they become teenagers. Actually, there's no evidence which supports that approach at all. In fact, the evidence slightly goes against that, suggesting that if you are drinking in front of children or giving them access to alcohol, even in a controlled environment, they're more likely to drink early, and they're more likely to have trouble with their drinking in their teenage years. So, be careful. Alcohol in children is a very difficult combination. The other very difficult combination is drinking and driving. We've just heard the intention to reduce the breath alcohol concentration down to 0.5. That's an important public health measure, and it will lead to important improvements in safety on our roads. But it does mean that people should be extra careful, and the only way to be sure is don't drink and drive. So if you are driving, be a sober driver, drink soft drinks and water, make sure it's clear at the start of the evening who's driving home at the end of the evening. That way there's no problem later on. And there are public transport options in many parts of the district, so that if at the end of the evening there are no sober drivers, call a taxi or use a courtesy coach if you're at a licensed premise. And finally, and importantly, don't forget to have fun. Alcohol is an important part of our culture and is associated with enjoying ourselves in the summer. So get out there, enjoy yourselves, just don't overdo it.